may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for the Mpeti Mahlatsi Secondary School Choir. An amazing group of young people. This choir was formed in 2006, and a very important and integral intervention, I think, for the Orange Farm community at this school in particular, because it's things like this that help children focus on positive things, culture, and away from some of the challenges that they face as young people. So let's encourage them a bit more. And our thanks to Choir Master Bongani Mapanga, who's leading them at this time. And I'm going to be shameless in asking you to think about helping them, because they need sponsorship, things for like uniforms, etc., etc. So I know some of you are sitting on huge trust funds, and if you can assist in any way to help these young people do what they do, they often perform in competitions around the country, and to just encourage them, please speak to Bongani and see how you can help. Before we begin the program officially, I think a very important place to start is our safety. And I'd like to call upon Winston from Emperor's Palace just to take us through the safety protocol.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? 100%, thanks. My name is Winston. I'm the Health and Safety Manager here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite important, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. So it's really two things I'd like to talk about quickly: evacuations and medical emergencies. The evacuation, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear an alarm, it'll say you need to evacuate. All I ask of you is that if you have important items or important information, please take it with you. Otherwise, leave everything else behind. I ask you to rise from these tables and go to your right through the doors on the exit there, then to your left. Downstairs is what we call the loading bay, and you continue through to the assembly point outside the loading bay. Please remain there. Don't come back into the building until the all clear is given. If someone is missing, please let us know. We have staff, security, we have a control room, and certain protocols that we put in place to go look for that individual, and we'll go find that individual and escort them out. Secondly, your medical emergencies, ladies and gentlemen, please don't phone Netcare, ER, or those particular companies. The reason is we have a clinic on site, we have medics on site. We can respond within 2 to 3 minutes. Having an external company come in takes about 10-15 minutes. We can assess the patient a lot quicker. All I ask from you, excuse me, is to create space for the particular individual, right? So when the medics do arrive, that one person communicates their condition to the medics. I myself am a paramedic, and I will also respond if need be. We have a clinic downstairs as well for your well-being, so if you are feeling a bit fluey and things like that, please, you're welcome to use those facilities. The floor manager will escort you down and make sure that you're looked after. But from my side, ladies and gentlemen, I won't take up any more of your time, though. They're just the two important things from my side, but please enjoy the day and do take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Winston. Right. Deputy Minister of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. SANEDI Board Chairperson, led by Mr. Stelo Kulu. SANEDI Exco and staff members, led by Dr. Titus Mate. Director General of the Department of Science and Innovation, Dr. Phil Njwara. CEOs of all DMRE entities and public entities represented. Northern Cape MEC for Economic Development, Mr. Abraham Fuslua. Esteemed researchers and panelists at the conference, industry partners, members of civil society joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, and some of you who've come just for the free tea, a very good morning and welcome to you all. Thank you so much indeed for joining us for this, the inaugural South African National Energy Development Institute SANEDI Conference 2023, the first, we hope, of many in the future. And we thank you so much for joining us and being part of this historic milestone for the Institute for the next 2 days, where we will be sharing, I think, important information. It's an opportunity to reflect on things past, things achieved, accomplished, and also focus on the present, the challenges that the country faces, and indeed the continent, and some of the work that still needs to be done as we navigate the future. And so my name is Peter Ndoro. I'm going to be your program director. I used to call myself a master of ceremonies until I found out that a master of ceremony in Zambia is someone who's in charge of circumcisions. So I'll be your program director for the next couple of days. Unless there's a need, you never know. You never know. But really, for the next couple of days, I think we have a lot of important conversations that we need to have. A lot of things have been achieved by SANEDI over time, and I think this is a great platform for us to share, for you to hear, and maybe spread the gospel a little bit about the great work that's being done by this institute. And also, talking to Dr. Mate earlier, what's really important for him, and he'll say it himself a little bit later, but I think just for you as a context, is that we are gathered here, different disciplines, different expertise, experiences, and perhaps this is a vehicle that we can bring all of this together in the next 2 days and see how we can put it all together for finding singular solutions, powerful solutions for our energy questions in the country. And I say country, but I do mean the region all the time, because I think if we get our part right, everybody else gets their part right, this continent can do amazing things. Energy is one of the important fuels for that. So do not underestimate the importance of your contributions for the next 2 days. The questions that you raise, the comments that you make, all of this is going to be very powerful in terms of forming ideas and maybe provoking debate along the right lines to get to the right solutions. So my job, as I said, will be to program direct. I will guide you over the next 2 days. But a couple of housekeeping notes. First thing, check your mobile phones, switch them to off or silence if you can't resist. You know, some people, FOMO, you don't want to miss out. Put them on silent. There is Wi-Fi, Emperor's Palace, and there's no password. So just look for Emperor's Palace, click on that, and then you'll be connected to Wi-Fi. I'll give you more details later on, but just up front, the breakaway sessions will be taking place not in this immediate vicinity. What you're going to have to do is walk past the dining area, and you'll get there and you'll find something called the Negotiating Council Chamber, NCC. So past the dining room. So that'll be where track 2 of the breakaway sessions is going to take place. And then track 1 will be right across from the NCC, and that'll be the Fabia room. But I will remind you again, to find out what is playing out, which session is playing out at what time, please log on to the SANEDI website. There you will find the breakaway sessions, the times that they start, so that you can plan your day, the rest of this afternoon. The morning session, everything is going to happen in this room. And in the afternoon, the breakaway sessions will take place in those 2 venues. Remember, track 1, when you go onto the website, track 1 is what you'll see on the left-hand side of the timetable, and that is what's going to be happening in the Fabia room. Track 2, on the right-hand side, that's what's going to be happening in NCC. Also, for those of you who want to follow this sessions in the plenary arena, we do have a Zoom link on the website that you can click through. So perhaps if there's colleagues that are not here, just alert them that on the website, SANEDI website, they'll find the Zoom link for these sessions so that they don't miss out. You'd have probably experienced the exhibition area already. If you haven't, please make time during the breaks, tea, lunch, etc., just to interact with some of the SANEDI partners that are there, just to give you an idea, I think, of what collaboration and cooperation is all about and what this conference is about for the next 2 days. So please visit that area. Very soon that door's going to be closed, so I'm going to invite you to walk around to the exhibition area, and that's where you'll also be able to enjoy your teas. Selfie moment. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to start this inaugural conference 2023? Fantastic, yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker this morning to say and give some opening remarks is someone who's no stranger to the energy field, having dedicated many, many years in the energy field, particularly right in front in a role in leadership. As the CEO and custodian, he's also the driver of SANEDI's vision and mission as the organization continues this very important work. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome SANEDI CEO, Dr. Titus Mate.
Thank you, Program Director. I'm definitely not going to call you MC, Mr. Ndoro. You actually covered most of my comments that I just wanted to make, but let me repeat them so that they sink in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. That was the theme of this, or the slogan of this conference, Kinako. You'll recall during the 2010 Soccer World Cup, we all, of course, Bafana did not do well, but that's a history. Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Honorable Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, Honorable MECs present here today, Honorable Executive Mayors, MMCs, Councillors that are in the room, officials from the DMRE, DSI, DOT, DFFE, DTIC, and other departments if they are in the room, chairperson of the SANEDI board and the SANEDI board members, the CEOs of various institutions, business leaders, academic institution leaders if they are in the room, and leaders from community organizations, civil society, representatives of the media, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. SANEDI is indeed honored by your presence here today. This conference is taking place at a very difficult and very critical moment for our country. We are confronted by the serious energy crisis, and it's not just electricity crisis. This energy crisis has a devastating negative impact in our communities. Companies are shutting down, people are losing jobs, and it's also stifling economic growth for the country and causing major disruptions in essential services. The recent water shortages, especially in Johannesburg, it's a case in point that indicates that we really need to attend to the energy crisis that we are faced with. As I said, it is not just electricity challenges that we are faced with. Soon, we will have to deal with the shortages of gas, shortages of liquid fuels, and the shutting down of refineries. It's not helping the situation either. Difficult as it is, we must not give up. A lot is at stake. If we now turn to the electricity crisis, in the short term, we must do everything in our power to support, not just to criticize, but to support the ESCOM technical recovery that they are currently busy with, and support the introduction of new electricity capacity that the DMRE and other state-owned entities are driving. We must also drive, I must add, very aggressively. We must drive the implementation of energy efficiency, demand-side management interventions, which some people call it a low-hanging fruit. And it does not require a lot of capital to implement. It's just a behavioral changes that some of us, we have to adapt. I hope all of you, you did switch off your geysers before you left your house this morning. You can imagine, how many geysers are in the country. I'm told it's about 6 million rand. If there was that capability, ESCOM had that capability, or municipalities had that capability, to just switch off the geysers across the country, if there is system constraints, etc., we can actually shave off anything between 2 to 3 stages of load shedding. Why are we not doing it? Why? And these devices are very cheap to install at our houses, etc., but we're not doing it. But that's just an example of what we can do if we really put our minds into some of these issues. In the medium term, we must fast-track the introduction of energy solutions to move towards a low-carbon economy. In this case, cleaner fossil fuels, this is coal, gas, liquid fuels, must play a key part in the energy transition. Cleaner fossil fuels, coal, gas, liquid fuels must play a key part in the energy transition in the short term to medium term. Extending the life and modernization of the existing energy assets and infrastructure should also be seriously considered in the medium to short term. This must include grid expansion and modernization. in the medium to short term, so we can adequately deal with the crisis that we are faced with. In the long term, we need to introduce energy solutions that will significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions in order to mitigate against climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak from experience. From what I experienced about a week ago, climate change is real. So those that live around Johannesburg, Midrand in particular, they now know that climate change is real. Our assets were destroyed, houses, cars, due to climate change that we experienced about a week ago. So we need to research. SANEDI is at the forefront of finding solutions to move towards green technologies that will assist us to mitigate against climate change. Someone once said, climate change and energy security are the sides of the same coin. So we must not pursue climate change mitigations and whatever at the expense of energy security. But at the same time, we must not pursue energy security at the expense of forgetting about the long term to mitigate against climate change, et cetera, et cetera. So let me repeat, climate change and energy security are the sides of the same coin. So what is SANEDI doing to address the national energy challenges? Firstly, we needed to revisit our strategic plan together with the board. We identified what we call national pain points, and I'll just list them just now shortly. But over and above that, we can't do everything. We don't have the resources, we don't have the people, we don't have the time to be able to do everything. So we needed to focus on some of the very specific national pain points that we have identified. So there are 6 that we have identified together with the board that we want to focus on. Number 1, as you expect, energy security. We are working very close with the likes of Eskom, Sasol to address this, and we're also supporting the energy efficiency and demand-side management initiatives as directed by the DMRE. That's number 1. Number 2, climate change. And I think I've elaborated on why we need to focus on that. Service delivery, number 3. Municipalities, they've got huge challenges. As we continue with energy crisis, there is negative impacts that are being felt with by the municipalities, and we need to intervene and support the MUNICs. Number 4, balanced, just energy transition. And we've added the word balanced. This is not just about focusing on a single particular technology. We must look at all technologies. The policy of the country is to pursue all technologies. It's not just to pursue a particular technology. And just must mean we don't lose jobs. We don't shut down companies. We don't create ghost towns. We don't stifle economic growth in provinces like Mpumalanga, for instance. And people have spoken a lot about what's happening at Komati. We must not repeat another Komati going forward. Number 5, gender mainstreaming and youth empowerment. We know the issues around unemployment, et cetera, et cetera. But where do you find the youth? In most cases, you don't find the youth at, the top-end universities. You find them at TVET colleges, especially the youth that is coming from poor communities. You find them at what they call UOTs, Universities of Technology. So SANEDI is now engaging with the TVET colleges, setting up agreements so that we can empower them as well to target the poor youth that we need to make sure that they are not left behind. And then the last one is universal access and affordability. We can't introduce new technologies and forget about the poor people. The poverty levels in the country are very, very high, unacceptable. So as we develop new energy solutions, we need to also focus on developing solutions for the poor communities. And SANEDI is focusing on that. And you'll hear about some of the presentations today and tomorrow. Drawing towards an end, above all, thought leadership, innovation, collaboration are critical to get us out of the current energy crisis. This conference is therefore our first attempt as an organ of state, state-owned entity, to bring together all the key stakeholders involved in the energy sector to provide SANEDI and others with an opportunity to showcase the work that they are busy with and initiatives that they are busy with, highlight energy research work primarily funded by the state, highlight opportunities for collaboration at municipality level, state-owned entity to state-owned entity, private sector, academia, even international partnerships. We are members of BRICS. There are huge opportunities for the country to participate in the BRICS fraternity. So the presentations and deliberations over the next 2 days will also assist in narrowing down focus areas that we can collaborate around. I indicated that we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources to do everything. We must focus on areas that we can collaborate around and make a big impact in terms of dealing with the energy crisis that we are faced with. It is therefore my greatest pleasure and honor to welcome everyone to this conference and wish everyone an enjoyable and fruitful conference. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on your behalf, I'd like to say thank you very much indeed to Dr. Mate and his team, who, as you've heard, are engaged in important work. And thank you for sharing your insights about your vision and your strategy going forward. You don't like my microphone? Eesh. And I was enjoying it. It just looks cool, doesn't it? All right, but thank you very, very much indeed. And I think you ask some big questions. I mean, for some of us, clean fossil fuels almost sounds like an oxymoron. But I think given the challenges that we face, resources that we have and the solutions that are required, these are questions that we need to answer. How do we do it? And also balanced energy transition, as you talked about, just transition. So thank you so much indeed for sowing the seeds of thought for discussion for the next 2 days. And we'll see what comes out of this room. The energy that I can see, I'm sure, is going to inspire some powerful thought leadership, I think, as you've said. So thank you so much for setting us up, Dr. Mate. Thank you. All right, so that's the executive leadership of SANEDI, and supporting that, perhaps maybe even overseeing it at the times, is the board. And it's my great pleasure to welcome somebody who's leading that board now as the chairperson. He himself, someone who's demonstrated long history of working in electricity supply in particular, also in leadership. Please welcome the chairperson of the SANEDI board, Mr. Sicelo Kulu.
Thanks, Program Director. Honorable Minister, I thought that I will crack a joke or two before I start with my welcome speech. So what I did, I went to Google to check some of the engineering jokes. I couldn't find any. I went to an advanced search engine, the ChatGPT. I couldn't find any. So I decided to call my ex-wife. We were married in community of property. So she stays in the property and I stay in the community. She couldn't give me any as well. So thanks. Honorable Deputy Minister, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, Director General of the DMRE, Director General of the DSI, the Special Advisor to the Ministry of Electricity, Mr. Salas Zimu, our fellow board members from SANEDI and other entities as well, the CEO of SANEDI, Dr. Titus Mate, as well as other CEOs of state-owned companies, Deputy Director Generals present today, SANEDI executives and staff present today, dignitaries, stakeholders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to each and every one of you. I would like to extend a warm and respectful greetings to all of you. I'm truly honored and privileged to extend the heartfelt welcome to the SANEDI's first annual conference. I think it deserves a round of applause. Today, we are gathered here not just as individuals, but as a collective force committed to shaping the trajectory of the sustainable energy for the future of our nation, South Africa. As we embark on this auspicious occasion, it brings me immense pleasure to introduce a leader whose guidance and vision have played a pivotal role in guiding South Africa towards a path of energy resilience and innovation. Our distinguished guest requires no extensive introduction, as her name echoes through the corridors of power and energy sector alike. Honorable Deputy Minister Nobuhle Kabane, at the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, you are a trailblazer in every conceivable way. Through her steadfast dedication to advancing our nation's energy agenda and a profound grasp of sector's intricacies, she stands out as a visionary leader. Through her leadership, we have witnessed the groundbreaking initiatives and policy frameworks that demonstrate government's dedication to a sustainable and efficient energy of the future. The Deputy Minister has not only been an advocate of progress, but a catalyst for change as well. Her passion for promoting energy research and technology innovation aligns seamlessly with the objectives of SANEDI, as outlined in the National Energy Act of 2008. Under her stewardship, we've seen a concerted effort to address complex challenges facing our energy landscape with a focus on driving meaningful, positive impact. As we look ahead to discussions and deliberations of this conference, we are honored to have not only the Deputy Minister with us today, but also to have you as the captains of industry. We eagerly anticipate the insights and the guidance the Deputy Minister will share with us today as we collectively chart the course of a sustainable energy of the future. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you all to join me in extending a warm welcome to the Honorable Deputy Minister, Dr. Nobuhle Kabane, to the stage. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Program Director of the session and the Chairperson of the Board, Mr. Sikelo Ulu. I'm going to acknowledge the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Mr. Blade Nzimande, the MEC of Economic Development in the Northern Cape, Mr. Foslo, the Chairperson of the SANEDI Board, Mr. Sikelo Ulu, and the board members present here today, the CEO of SANEDI, Dr. Titus Mate, and all the executive members present here today, the CEO of SEF, Dr. Ismail Pulo. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing you correctly, because you always complain. Yeah. The captains of the industry present here today, the members of the academia, energy experts, Team DMRE led by our DDG, Thabo Kekana, guests and members of the media present here today, with the hope that they are going to capture very positive outcomes of this conference. We are tired of negativity. We want positive minds and positive energy. I see a friend of mine here, the CEO of CGS, Ntate Mabuza. He has also joined the conference. Delegates and participants in this conference, I'm honored to be part of this diverse portfolio present here today that has gathered to address some of the pertinent challenges that the country is facing in relation to energy. This is an inaugural energy conference hosted by the South African National Energy Development Institute, which is commonly known as SANEDI. The conference, convened under the theme, Inform and Increase Awareness on Sustainable Energy Solutions, is a major step towards the consolidation of our pathway to the realization of the South Africa's strategic objectives as set out in the National Development Plan, which we normally call it as our Vision 2030. As you may all know, the NDP enjoins us to ensure a decent standard of living for all citizens by significantly reducing the triple challenges that we are facing, which is unemployment, inequality, as well as poverty. At the center of achieving this strategic objective is access to energy by the people of South Africa. I believe we all understand that without energy, there will be no economic growth and there will be no industrialization, as we are still a developing country. The fact of the matter is that since this democratic government came into effect in 1994, it has successfully increased access to electricity from less than 34% to over 92% today. Despite this significant progress, we acknowledge that more needs to be done to attain universal access. I believe all of us, we know the program that is being rolled out by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, which is the Integrated National Electrification Program, which ensures that every household in the country has access to electricity. And as a consequence, accomplish our strategic objective, the current electricity supply-demand imbalance, which imposed load shedding on all of us, is a challenge that government is grappling with an intention to permanently resolve in the shortest possible time. We have seen some of the strides that the Minister of Electricity is doing in this regard. We have seen Dr. Ramokgopo visiting all our powered plants in the country and doing an assessment to check their capacity and to come up with some of the mitigation measures in trying to address the supply-demand imbalance that we are facing as the country. The NDP foresees that by 2030, our country will have an energy sector that provides reliable and efficient energy service at competitive rates that is socially equitable through expanded access to energy at affordable tariffs, and that is environmentally sustainable through reduced emissions and pollution. You will remember that as the country, we committed to Paris Agreement as per our nationally determined contributions. So we are trying to meet our targets as set out. In order to realize this NDP goal, South Africa's Electricity Infrastructure Development Plan, the IRP 2019, identified a diversified energy mix required to meet the country's expected electricity demand growth. The mix, which is inclusive of solar PV, the wind, the coal, nuclear, gas, hydro, and battery storage, is necessary for the country to guarantee reliable energy supply to society and ultimately eradicate energy poverty in our country. What we need to do as the sector, as the academics, as technocrats, is to change the narrative around our energy mix. There is no technology that we should embrace more than the other. We should be guided by the challenges, socio-economic challenges of the country. And our economies must be considered for us to be able to address the challenge that we are facing. I'm going to cite an example. When you look at Africa in general, in terms of carbon emissions, we are only contributing less than 4%. Other developed countries are the major contributors in terms of carbon emissions. However, we need to try and reduce the emissions that we are contributing with. Secondly, we do understand that coal is our major power generation currently. We have 15 coal-powered plants in South Africa. When you look at China, they've got 43 coal-powered plants. When you look at Japan, they have 23 coal-powered plants. When you look at UK, they are still commissioning coal-powered plants. So what we need to do as professionals here, obviously guiding our policy positions in government as policymakers, is to come up with clean coal technologies that are going to address the issue of polluting the environment and carbon emissions. On the other hand, the mix presents us with an opportunity to diversify South Africa's electricity mix by producing distributed generation and provide off-grid electricity, whereas on the other hand, it guarantees us baseload energy, which is essential for industrialization. We intend to present the reviewed IRP 2019 in the next cabinet meeting, and we hope that it will be released for public comments soon thereafter. Your contributions as technocrats, as professionals and academics to this process will help us produce the best electricity blueprint for our country. As we've previously pointed out, it is regrettable that environmental preservations and climate change are increasingly being used by some among society to block development in our country. We have seen the GDP of other countries that are exploiting their oil and gas growing. So we have to exploit and develop our oil and gas. The International Energy Agency has declared nuclear and gas as amongst the green technologies. So why don't we embrace it as the country? Because it's our God-given wealth that we should utilize. The fact of the matter is that for South Africa to effectively address the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality, it will require a more rapid and inclusive economic growth, which will need an energy technology to play a significant role. Program Director and delegates, a developing nation like ours does not have luxury to choose between these energy technologies. We need to embrace all of them, but obviously coming up with some ideas with technologies and innovation to cap carbon emissions. We appreciate that any transition to a low-carbon future will have an impact on the use of fossil fuels. However, in view of the fact that 82% of energy sources in the world are from fossil fuels, this conference must help us determine how best South Africa can manage its transition given its endowment with these fossil fuels. We look up to you and your research capabilities to guide us on what we will do with the resources such as coal, oil, and gas in the transition pathway towards clean carbon economy. Our considered view is that as we transition from high carbon emissions to low carbon emissions, we do not need to abandon these resources in the hope that something new will be greater. We must first test the reliability and efficiency as well as resilience of the new technologies before we can unbundle or phase down on the old technologies. Our IRP 2019 is very clear. It says we are going to scale down on coal from 75% that we are sitting on today to 60% by the year 2030. And this approach, if this approach is workable or not, we expect you as researchers, as innovators and technologists to tell us. I'm aware that there is a pilot project that Date Mabuza and Team CGS, together with Mintech, are driving in Mpumalanga, which is carbon capture, storage, and utilization. The Chinese have demonstrated that it is workable, and we are convinced that it will work for us too if we apply our minds, obviously guided by you as technocrats and academics. As the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, we are of a firm view that a breakthrough in the development of the upstream petroleum industry will catapult our economy to greater heights. Hence, we are particularly pleased with the recent approval by Parliament of the Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Bill, which seeks to separate petroleum provisions from mineral provisions and address issues that are pertinent to the upstream petroleum sector. The African Energy Chamber, in its State of the African Energy 2024 Outlook report, predicts that global gas and liquefied natural gas demands is expected to outrun the supply from currently producing fields, and that the balance will largely be dependent on newer projects and currently underdeveloped discoveries. We know in South Africa we have a lot of oil and gas discoveries that we need to exploit, that we need to develop. In view of the African Energy Chamber prediction, the approval of the Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Bill is indeed a major step towards the immediate development of South Africa's upstream petroleum industry, which will enable our country to become a major player in the production and supply of oil and gas. In real terms, this tells us that there is no better time than now for our country to invest in the exploration and exploitation of the natural resources that is well endowed with, including oil and gas. As you may know, the DMRE has gazetted the South African National Petroleum Company Bill for public comments. We're hoping that you are also going to comment on that bill. The bill aims to establish the National Petroleum Company by providing transitional arrangements for transferring human resources and assets from the iGas, Strategic Fuel Fund, and Petro SA. Dr. Pulu is sleeping, but I'm speaking about his entity. We hope that delegates at this conference will robustly discuss these developments and submit their comments to the department. As we work towards resolving the most important constraints on South Africa's economic growth and navigate the just energy transition, we look to institutions like SANEDI and many other research institutions to lead the way to help us develop our critical path for this transition without the pressure from developed nations. We are confident that when this conference adjourns, we will have a concrete proposal that will shape the way in which South Africa can respond to its real and immediate energy challenges and help us to overcome those challenges. In conclusion, Program Director, let me assure you that this government remains committed to the cause of sustainable energy development, the pursuit of energy security for South Africa, and just transition from a high to a low carbon economy, not switching off from what to what. Lastly, Program Director and delegates, I wish to take this opportunity to commend SANEDI for the good work done in terms of governance and accountability. We want to indicate before you that for this financial year under review, they did receive a clean audit opinion from Auditor General. A round of applause for that. Thank you so much for having me. I hope and believe that you enjoyed the insights that the DM has presented.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Deputy Minister, thank you very, very much indeed for being with us today and sharing that very important message about government's position, work, ambitions. Started off, I think, by explaining just how critical energy is as a driver in addressing poverty, unemployment, inequality, and that despite the remarkable growth in electricity coverage and provision, 92% more work still needs to be done, as you said. And in doing this, addressing, as you say, the supply-demand imbalance, but in doing this, you said a lot of work still needs to be done in shifting that narrative a little bit regarding our energy mix. We have a unique set of circumstances in this country, on this continent, and you talked about how we need to find a way forward for us, given the resources that we have, coal, oil, gas. Yes, we need to move from high carbon to low carbon, but how do we manage that transition in a way that works for us so that we can provide for the unique circumstances that our country faces, and I dare say our continent faces, in terms of the socio-economic challenges that need to be addressed and addressed quickly. So thank you so much indeed for providing those seeds for thought for us, to debate, to come up with innovative solutions in the coming 2 days. Deputy Minister, thank you so much indeed for joining us. Thank you for your thoughts. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the first part of this morning's proceedings. We're going to take a tea break, and it should have started about an hour ago, so we're finished tea now. No, I'm joking. So we're going to take a tea break. We are scheduled to start again at about 10:30, but we'll give them another 5 minutes. Split the difference, okay? So if we could be back by about 10:35, that would be great. And then we can carry on. We start the really important work, I think, of unpacking some of these big themes that have been presented to you. The members of the media, if I could invite you to make your way to the media room, where we'll be having that round table now with some of our speakers that you've heard this morning, and also some of the key members at SANEDI, to explain what this conference is all about, what the questions that we need to answer are all about, and what we're hoping to achieve after the coming 2 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much indeed. We'll see you promptly back in this room at 10:35. And if someone is talking to you at 10:34, tell them to keep quiet and walk back into the room. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you at 10:35.